What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and whatever time it is. Welcome back to yet another video with you, man. Immersioholic, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 11 of my Carthaginian campaign feat divided into Impera overhaul mod for Total War Rome 2. And ladies and gentlemen, today we have the invasion of Italy, led by your boy Hamilcar, arguably Hamilcar the Great at this point. He essentially brought Iberia to its knees, and now he fully intends to do that on Rome. And here we will begin our episode with the Battle of Genua, where Hamilcar takes on the large and ready, prepared, and professional town garrison. Here is your man Hamilcar, looking lethal, if I may say so myself. He is a man weathered by war. He has a lot of the trophies to show it off. He has a few scars, and his eyes are absolutely terrifying. But anyway, there's his personal bodyguard as well. We're going to have a little bit of a look at his army, his expeditionary force, if you will. Has excellent sacred band cavalry units, so almost kind of like having hoplites on cavalry. Very professional looking. We then have his African Atlas elephants. These are the ones with the towers on top, so they'll have a little bit of skirmishing capabilities as well. They'll come in very handy in dissuading the Roman heavy troops. We then have three lines essentially of our forces. We have the Italian allies in the center. In front of them we have our Balearic slingers, and in the rear we have a third line of reinforcements, which will essentially be different variants of swordsmen and whatnot that we'll use to plug in the gaps as needed. We'll also have our spearmen in the rear and on the flanks. We have cavalry on the far left and the far right hand side, Carthaginian sacred band cavalry. As you can see here, here's a bit of an overview of the army from the top looking down. Our Brutian infantry are making up the core of this army, and in the rear, as I said, we have our reserve troops, which is essentially our Libyans and Italian mercenaries. That will help out pretty massively. The right hand flank has our Samnite hired riders. The Samnites have proven to be some of the best cavalry we've ever seen. You can see our plan here is to bring out the enemy garrison. We're going to be using our slingers to do that, harass them, and then they'll retreat behind our friendly lines, and then we'll flank the enemy positions with our cavalry and other swordsmen in those big red arrow loops that I showed you there. But we're essentially trying to antagonize the bear that is Rome, and bring them out of their little hidey hole. This is going to be the first ever battle fought on mainland Italy in an invasion attempt of Italy. We have fought in the far south, but that's been a little bit more different, just focused around the city of Cosentia. Here, even though this is just a town garrison, you can see the troops are very professional. They're very well equipped still, have their gladius sword and large scutum shield. So they're going to be able to do a lot of serious damage once they get into close quarters with us. Even as they move forward here in a very large line and swarm, they have their massive shields presented towards our slingers. So they're going to be getting a lot of cover from it. Our soldiers do hit the enemies with javelins as soon as they get close enough. However, their large shields are really going to help them. So once the javelins are loose, our men charge forward and meet the enemy on the field. We get an intense melee going across the entire front line, especially on the front right hand side of our army. Left hand side engages just slightly afterwards. We're looking a little bit better on the left as we have more numbers in terms of engagements on cohort to cohort, so we should be winning just fine over there. The center and the right, though, are getting hit heavily by the Roman forces, and they're coming out in waves. This first wave is suffering massive losses against our own troops. You can even see here we have a couple of units that are looking to waver very shortly. And now we start surrounding the enemy with some Italian mercenaries. Our second line of troops is either flanking or already plugging in the holes. One thing you'll notice about this fight is that it's hard to tell what units are Carthaginian and what units are Roman, and that's because we do have so many Italian allies in our army, ready to throw off the yoke of Roman oppression on their homeland. Carthage will be more than happy to liberate. Speaking of which, our cavalry are charging forward very quickly to dealing with some very lethal rear charges, and they're also trying to chase down all of the Roman skirmishers. They had about 3 or 4 units of javelins, so they've actually been getting a lot of free kills on our men. Not acceptable, and our cavalry will have to ride them down as quickly as possible. Although the Captain Garrison is trying to protect them with his own personal bodyguard. He'll get some free kills with his javelin as well. Our cavalry wasn't ready for that switch, and so the Romans are still handling themselves quite well, despite this only being a garrison. But now comes the hammer to our anvil. Not only are our cavalry doing rear charges, but we now have the elephants engaged from the front, and in the rear we have our Iberian swordsmen coming in. They were sent on the far deep flank. They cleared out the entire town, and we now have 3 units of Iberian Scutari troops coming through. Some of the best swordsmen in the world at this point, and they're going to be recharging Roman units alongside our elephants. And as you can see, there's just absolutely no way the Romans are going to be able to stand up to that. With that final recharge there, the last remaining remnants of the Roman army begin collapsing, and the entire town garrison routs. And Genua is taken by Hamilcar in the name of the Carthaginian Republic. The invasion of Italy really has begun. Here are the stats. If you'd like to have a quick look, you can see a lot of our army did really great. Unfortunately though, our Brutian troops did suffer some pretty heavy losses. They were the center and front of our army, so it's understandable that the Romans would grind through them a fair bit. So even though this was just a town garrison, they can still do some pretty serious damage. There it is, the garrison is gone. We lost just under 300 men, so doesn't sound like a lot of numbers, but keep in mind we're in northern Italy. It's not going to be too easy to replenish. But we go ahead and sack the city, take it and all of its valuables, and then we liberate it, creating an ally in the north of Italy. Our strategy is going to be to liberate the factions that have been taken over by the Romans and forced to basically serve them or become a part of them, either or. We then liberate the local Ligurians. They're going to establish trade rights with us. We're going to have embargoes, a monopoly over their area, and we will also end up using this opportunity to reorganize our troops. So we're going to be hiring some Veneti mercenaries, or at this point Ligurian mercenaries. There'll also be some Veneti ones coming in soon, and we're basically going to try and use mercenaries from the Gallic forces to reinforce our army. But now we need to figure out where we want Hamilcar to go. There's obviously a large contingent of Illyrians over here in the blue circle. However, we want to get towards Rome, and we're probably going to do that just by going straight down the western coast of Italy towards Arretium, and then from there we can either go straight to Rome, or we could go to Ariminium to the east, along the east coast. So we have a few options. We could go to Patavium if we really wanted to deal with the Illyrians, but there's some serious numbers up there. So either we go to Ariminum or we go to Rome, so we need to figure that out. And even there, from there, we could go towards Asculum and south into Italy if we want to try and help out our other armies. However, speaking of other armies, we have the first Magonid army led by General Baracus relaunching an invasion of Italy in the south along the tip of the toes of Italy. We're marching on Cosentia. They do only have a town garrison, but our forces here in the Magonid army aren't that great. We did suffer some decent casualties, 325 in total, but we have a lot of mercenaries in this army, so hopefully they can be replenished through local forces. We're going to do the same thing here, though. We're going to sack it, liberate it, and then use the people that we do liberate as a bit of a buffer between us and Rome proper. The main city that we're going to want to take over will be Rome itself. The rest of the peninsula isn't really a priority. We can use the allies instead and have them take care of all the public order issues. Meanwhile, in Sardinia, the 9th Roman Legion is still marching on our cities. We have an army out here that is led by the Magonid leader, going by the name of Macinthan Magonid. He's trying to ambush this 9th Legion that's just holding out in the middle of Sardinia. Unfortunately, that legion is not marching forward anymore, even though we're trying to hide our forces, so we'll see how he can deal with that coming up. Back in Iberia, the 2nd Barcid army is now marching to deal with this Iberian uprising that has been led by a former client state against our own troops. It's been a bit of an issue. They did take the city of Ibora from us. However, they don't have any support. We do have the rest of the Iberian Peninsula under our control. So the second Barcid army should be able to handle that. We'll see if anything gets too serious. But that's under General Idabal. Back in the east, in the heartland of Illyria, actually, we have General Xanthippus leading the charge directly into the capital of the Illyrians now, city of Aeda. Don't really have a massive garrison there, but it's still quite sizable, and Xanthippus' troops have been depleted due to recent battles, so it is going to be a bit of a hard battle for him. But the Illyrians have all of their troops stationed up at Patavium at the moment, so it's going to take them quite a few turns to get down there. But once Xanthippus takes out this city, he also needs to figure out how he's going to get involved in Italy. Does he go to Ariminum, or does he go north to Patavium? We want this to be a three-way pincer movement against the Romans, and so it's essentially going to be a race to Rome. Can the Magonids get there first? Can the Barcids? Or can Xanthippus and his Greek agenda? We'll see how that goes. But the Magonids are making good progress. They take a century in a single turn, and then they begin marching towards Taurus as well. So that will be their next goal. After that, they'll go to Beneventum, and then they'll need to decide if they want to march on Rome or Asculum, whereas Rome is, of course, the prize. The Barcids up in the north, led by Hamilcar, are definitely closer, so we'll see who can get there first. In the following turns, the Magonids are caught off guard though in Sardinia, and Corrales was besieged by the 9th Roman Legion. However, the Legion is then driven away by the Magonid reinforcements. They come and drive them off to the western cliffs. The Roman army can no longer retreat. They need to make their final stand against the Magonid House Guard. Let's see if the 9th Legion can hold out against the might of Carthage. Here we are on the battlefield, ladies and gentlemen. We have the personal bodyguard of General Macinthan, leader of the Magonid family, Magonid dynasty. And this is his army right here. His army is going to be very basic. Despite him having a massive numerical superiority over the Romans, he has the town garrison of Corrales getting involved, but then his main army isn't really all that great. It's all completely green and brand new. He does have good cavalry, like the Carthaginian Sacred Band there. In the third row of his army, he has some local archers that will be helping out, the Sardinian archers. In the front line, though, we have spearmen and some hoplites as well nearby. Iberian mercenary infantry are taking up the center of our army, and then the Gauls have two contingents on the left and right hand side respectively. The right hand flank is some Libyan hired cavalry. Still not that great, but still pretty useful at least. But yeah, all in all, it's not really looking too great for us. A lot of our troops are essentially mercenaries from the provinces that are being either conscripted into fighting us, or at least a mercenaries being paid. But here's our militia army as well. Just a bunch of spearmen, militia spearmen, a lot of levy javelinmen, and then a few militia level and slightly professional hoplites. So that will at least provide some serious numbers to help out in this battle. But the 9th Legion is a veteran legion. It has some excellent units, so the Romans could still easily swing this back in their favor. Moving forward a little bit, you can see our armies are trying to use the advantage that we're fighting on a massive slope hill, and we're trying to line up along this green line right here. Hopefully try and bring the Romans up the center of the valley, but as our forces continue moving forward and they try to get in good positions, we see elements of the Roman army vanguard towards the eastern side and eastern center of the battlefield, and they look like they're pushing up a steep part of the hill, but it's a shorter part of the hill. So they're actually going to end up having the high ground if we don't hurry up and stop them. But it looks like they're going to be lining up along that green line. And unfortunately, the hill does actually go down in between us and them. So it looks like despite us being above them, technically via altitude, they're actually going to have the higher ground because we're going to have to push uphill towards them. We try to move General Macinthan's army closer, and the militia army will be going down along the western flank of the army position, but the Romans were just too quick. They actually have a decent commander for this battle, and the Carthaginian forces are going to have to try to just use brute force and brute numbers to win the battlefield here. Cavalry, of course, will be trying to take on the left and right hand flanks of the Romans, but they have their own cavalry. But if it does well, then we can use the hill to our own advantage by doing downhill rear charges. Here is the leader of the 9th Legion, a Roman general, fighting on foot, not on horseback. Obviously trying to inspire his troops to trust him, that he's not looking to retreat. The Roman cavalry begins the battle by charging forward towards our levy spearmen. They take a wave of javelins, and they will get shut down very quickly for it, but we will take some pretty serious losses in doing so. The Roman cavalry is backed up by their own spearmen and levies. You can see cavalry is fighting off in the distance in one-on-one engagements, but then we manage to surround the Romans. They will swing things in our favor initially, however, their quality of cavalry is way better. So if we don't get more support, they're going to win that grind. But here we have an entire frontline charge coming in from the Roman Legion. They are charging downhill against their own men. Would have been wiser for General Macintha and the police forces back uphill, but he's commanding only a militia tier army, really. Pretty low level training and equipment. You can see here, despite receiving massive hails of javelins thrown at them, the Romans don't care, and they're going to charge directly on into it and battle against their own forces. These Romans are professionals. They have seriously good troops. A mixture of Italian, Roman, and Greek troops in the Roman Legion, but they're using them to the best of their ability. You can see this battle is incredibly chaotic. Arrows and javelins flying both ways. Romans, Greeks, Italians, and Carthaginians are fighting each other, so there's going to be a lot of friendly fire in the melee and through the skirmishing. The Romans brought in some axemen up here. I believe that's some Turiski axemen. Excellent unit, but very scary for our men to go up against. But this battle is massive. It's absolutely enormous. You can see the battlefield is extremely long, and there's some mini battles going off on the side against all the cavalry and the flanking units in general. The Gauls are sent to the eastern flank to try and help out our allies. Roman cavalry is getting the upper hand in the one-on-one engagements. Big losses for the Carthaginians right here. General Macintha needs to offer some support. Instead, what he does, though, is focus his attention on the center and the left-hand flank. He's going to be sending some levy javelin around to try and hit the Romans in the rear, and he's also trying to tie up reinforcements of the Romans that are coming in. He has 2 units of Triarii to hold off, but while they're doing that, the Carthaginians are going to be reinforcing their line right here, trying to plug up the holes that are about to form along those blue crosses. You can see many of the Carthaginians are interested in routing right now. Roman cavalry is coming in for an excellent rear charge here. At the end of it, completely catches the Carthaginians off guard. Carthaginians will not be prepared to handle it. However, the cavalry is still alive, and so will come back. Try to stop the Romans from getting consistent rear charges. But man, look at that. Boom. Such a mistake to let that rear charge happen. That could have led to a general collapse across the entire front line. I'm very, very lucky it didn't. See, the brutal fighting is continuing on. Very little strategy being used here. Just professional Romans are dealing against an onslaught of Carthaginians and Greeks and their Italian allies. Absolutely savage. Hard to tell who's who. But here we have our Carthaginian cav, unfortunately getting charged, but they do have support nearby, so the Roman cav is going to be hunted down here. And they will be dispatched shortly, despite the Carthaginians getting a terrible charge against them. Probably should have fared worse than what they did. While that continues, the Romans continue pushing forward. They are being surrounded though. They're fighting at the front here, at the bottom right hand side of the screen, but then at the top of the screen you can see some Carthaginians have circled around the Romans, and now they're getting pushed from 2 sides. Slowly but methodically, the Romans are losing ground. We are pushing through. We even get our own cavalry in the rear and start doing our own rear charges, and it's downhill just as we had planned. So the advantage that the Carthaginians had is now being used against them by our cavalry. Devastating rear charges going on. Not a massive amount of kills, but it is dealing some serious morale penalties to them. Here comes another rear charge. Down on hill into the Roman spearmen. Boom. Savage. Absolutely rough. Even the professional discipline of the Romans can't stand against that kind of onslaught. We start to see them routing in droves, routing by the hundreds, and it will shortly be followed upon by the thousands. The 9th Legion makes a glorious last stand, but with all these rear charges, with the chaos of the battle that is going on ahead, but General Macinthan has led his troops better than the Roman leader, somehow. The Roman 9th Legion begins routing en masse. They are chased across the entire Sardinian countryside. The 9th Legion will be no more, and Sardinia is liberated, thanks to the Magonids. There we have that battle. Here are these statistics. You can see we had a massive numbers advantage, 6,800 Carthaginians against 3,600 Romans, but they still killed almost half of our army. The Romans are just that good. While we do hate them, personally and professionally, we need to respect the quality of their troops. Otherwise, we have battles like that where we take massive losses. It's good we won because our army there has been utterly depleted. It's going to take a lot of time for it to recover, and chances are we're not even going to let it recover. Instead, we're going to have it march north, kill the remnants of the Roman army, and then we're going to march on liberating Corsica. We will send in some mercenary allies, but they'll be pretty cheap, low-tier stuff just to help provide numbers. The last of the Roman 9th Legion is killed off, and their standard is taken to Carthage itself and paraded through the streets. The Magonid army plans to march up to Illyria, however you want to say that, and Corsica. There is a Massilian army up there, which is a little concerning, but not a lot we can do about that for now. During the end turn, we get an interesting proposal from a tribe known as the Iceni in the far north. They come from a mystical and mysterious land that no one really knows anything about. They seem to be quite powerful though, and they are very respectful in their trade and diplomacy that they offered us. So we're going to get a lot of money from them, we're going to get trade and non-aggression and cooperation, potentially in invading into the north if need be. But it was exciting because we haven't got much diplomacy in this campaign. In the meantime though, Xanthippus is launching his attack on the capital of the Illyrians, and now the Illyrian garrison marches out to take him on. Instead of fighting the battle though and showing you all it, I'm actually just going to fight it manually myself and deal with it. That way you guys don't see a boring battle. It was pretty standard, nothing really crazy for you guys to see. And we've already seen Xanthippus win a bunch of battles anyway, so. He gets a decisive victory, however, a lot of the garrison did end up retreating. And unfortunately, I didn't chase them down in the battle. I was a bit of an idiot with that, so. I mean, it is what it is. We'll move forward with that when we can. We then get another order of diplomacy offered towards us. The Orsini are offering a defensive alliance, another northern tribe. One of the Gauls, though, not one of the British factions.
Now we must drown ourselves in ale.
We then have the Massili come to us, offering their services in defeating the Carthaginian pirates for a little bit of money. We allow it, but they've been pretty useless this entire campaign, so we're not counting on much. The Vitones, aka the Iberian rebels, are trying to beg us for peace now that they've grabbed a little bit of land from us. But, of course, Carthage cannot tolerate any kind of rebellion whatsoever. So the Vitones will not be allowed to have any peace with us. Moving forward, yet again, Xanthippus needs to take on the garrison protecting the Illyrian capital. We're just going to auto-resolve that away though. However, it does end up resulting in us having quite a few casualties. So Xanthippus' army is really depleting. He's going to need to consolidate his troops into their respective cohorts and whatnot. And also consider hiring some local mercenaries to bring into his army. Help him in the quest for Rome.
Bless our journey. Your service.
In the meantime, up in northern Italy, the Illyrians are spreading their forces out around. They even have military allies in the area that aren't at war with us yet, but they probably will be very soon. So they've split their forces up to cover more of northern Italy, and now it looks like they're also sending a large army back towards their Illyrian heartlands to take on Xanthippus and his march into their territories, and Italy hopefully as well. Could potentially cause some serious concerns, however. Xanthippus is an excellent leader. We're sure he can handle it in one way or another, although his forces have never been so depleted, so we'll see how he does handle it. It looks like he's going to be interested in recruiting more mercenaries and perhaps trying to organize an ambush to take on the Illyrians when they inevitably do come down this far south. Meanwhile, in central Italy, we have Hamilcar marching on the city of Arretium. That's right, he's going to go down the western Italian coastline, take out the major town of Arretium. After he does that, it'll be time to march on Rome. However, that's a very large garrison he has to fight, and we're going to save that for when we want to fight the Battle of Manco. So right now, Hamilcar is just going to besiege the town and begin surrounding it and preparing his forces for an offensive into the heartland of Italy.
Let them cower before our might.
Meanwhile, down south, Cassentia has built up its forces. They are a military ally and have declared war on Rome. So, while they begin to march north, the Magonid army that was down here under the command of General Baracus is going to continue its march on Taurus. It's going to even initiate the siege here shortly. We were debating sending the army up north towards Rome, but taking out the city of Taurus has to be a priority. It's definitely going to be a major stepping stone in securing all of Italy, so we're going to have that happen. Very large garrison in a very well defended position, so we'll probably have to fight that battle manually as well. That will be a fun video for you guys to see, hopefully in the next episode, if not the one after that. Meanwhile, Sardinia, the first Magonid Guard, is still marching north up into Corsica. Its forces are still very much depleted, but it has some fresh mercenaries, so combining that with the Magonid Navy over here, the Second Republican fleet, we will be able to surround the town and liberate it shortly. But again, we're going to probably wait to fight that battle manually, so we might show that briefly in the next video, or at the very least we'll just end it there. And getting back to our final theater, the west in Iberia, the second Barcan army has now finally reached the town of Abora. The primary army of the Vetones is inside, but it's a really pathetic army. It's like levy and garrison militia tier units. So instead of fighting that battle manually, we're actually just going to auto-resolve it. We've done enough battles in all of Iberia now. I'm kind of sick of fighting the Iberians, so we're just going to go ahead and auto-resolve it. Call it there. Get the win. Abora is liberated, which is very important to our economy, but now we need to march on the Vetones' home city of Iplacia. Once we do that, the rebellion in Iberia will be complete. The Barcan armies will need to obviously reorganize and take care of any losses they had, but it's mainly with Iberian conscripts, so at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal that we're taking some big losses there. But we also have a Carthaginian pirate fleet launching an attack along our coastline. Very frustrating. They've been nothing but a pain in our side. However, we will need to wait until the next video to deal with it. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one.